Before you begin cutting, spray all of your fabrics with Best Press and give them a good ironing. Take all of your heart fabrics and cut them into 5.5-inch squares. This will give you a total of 26 5.5-inch squares. Now we will take 24 of our 5.5-inch heart squares and we will pair them up and place them right sides together. You will take these paired up fabrics right sides together and sew a 1/4-inch seam around the entire perimeter. You will continue the same with all 12 pairs. Now you will cut your 12 pairs from corner to corner diagonally. And this will give you 4 half-square triangles. You'll need a total of 47 half-square triangles out of the heart fabrics. Now we will press our heart fabric half-square triangles. Set the seam. And then press them open towards the darker of the 2 fabrics. With my 3.5-inch square ruler, I will line up the diagonal lines on the square and on the block and trim up all of my half-square triangles to 3.5 inches. For our background half-square triangles, we need 2 white 5.5-inch squares and 2 red 5.5-inch squares. Place your fabrics right sides together and then stitch a 1/4-inch seam around the perimeter of each pair. Now cut the 2 pairs from corner to corner diagonally. You will need 6 background half-square triangles. As per your pattern, lay out your half-square triangles and background blocks to create your top heart unit. Sew your blocks together into rows, and then press your rows as the arrows indicate in your pattern. Then sew your rows together and press as the arrows indicate in the pattern. Follow the pattern to lay out your half-square triangles to create the bottom heart unit. For your bottom heart unit, sew the blocks together into rows and press according to the arrows on the pattern. Then sew your rows together and press according to the arrows on the pattern. And now refer to your pattern to lay out your half-square triangles to create the side heart unit. For the side heart unit, sew your blocks together into rows and then press according to the arrows on the pattern. Then sew your rows together and press according to the pattern. As per your pattern, cut the rest of the background white fabric. We will use this background white fabric and our 3 heart square units to assemble our quilt. And there you have your quilt top finished. It should measure up to about 35 by 35 inches. Now it's time to big stitch quilt the top. We're going to use some pearl cotton, a chenille needle, and our thimble pads. Take your thread and form a little slip knot on the bottom. To start, place your needle into the fabric about an inch or two away from where you actually want to start stitching. You're going to place your needle and thread between the two layers of fabric so that your thread is going to get buried into the batting. And then just push your needle up to where you want to start stitching, and now pop that knot so that it gets buried in between the two layers of fabric. Snip your little tail, and now we will start stitching. You're simply going to rock your needle up and down through all 3 layers, creating a uniform big stitch. For the white background portion of the quilt, I'm going to use my HERA marker to mark all of the quilting lines. The HERA marker is fantastic for marking your quilt for quilting because it works on any color of fabric, and you never run the risk that any sort of ink or chalk is going to stain your fabrics. So I highly recommend the HERA marker for marking your quilting lines. Once you've finished the quilting, bind as desired. And there you have our Stitches from the Heart quilt. I hope you enjoyed it, and please, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And we'll see you again next week for another project.